Greetings, dear friends. We are sincerely happy to welcome you again. Today we're going to talk to the esteemed Igor Mikhailovich Danilov.
Hello.
Igor Mikhailovich, in one of our videos, we discussed that sometimes people desiring something material, both in childhood and in adulthood, conclude deals with the devil, with Satan. Someone wants to get sympathy, someone wants a toy as a child, someone wants some material item, while someone wants to hide something that he has done wrong. And people often say the phrase, I would give everything in order to get something, or I would trade anything for this or that. You know, a lot of our viewers recognize themselves in this story. And one woman said, I pronounced and repeated this phrase countless times. I would give everything for. Of course, people received what they wanted. Some shared that immediately after receiving what they desired, they actually had a sense of hell inside them, a sense of some inner pain, and they realized what the popular phrase really means: be careful what you wish for. Certainly now, after so many videos have been released, a question arises: what to do next? Because consciousness plays on this and tells a person that since he has done such a thing, has made a deal with the devil himself, he surely has no chance for salvation, and the road to heaven is closed to him. The question arises, what is next? What to do? Can this deal be annulled? And is there any chance of salvation after such a thing?
Let's put it this way. This deal cannot be annulled. Why? Because a person cannot go back in time and dissuade himself from doing that. What is done is done. Let's say many people reaped the fruits of their own contract. But does a person have a chance for salvation? Of course he does. Despite the fact that we kind of make a deal with Satan himself in order to get something. And there is a question. Of course, many people say, how come? What deal with Satan are you talking about? Is it really possible? Satan doesn't even exist,
They are skeptical, yes?
How our consciousness works, it begins to challenge everything. Then I immediately have another question for those whose brains start working like that. Friends, tell me, let's say you want something that is unrealizable as of today. For example, one of my acquaintances wanted to buy a house. He saw a wonderful, beautiful house in a resort area by the sea. This fellow was already elderly, of retirement age, but in the past, he had held a high position. Meanwhile, this luxurious, beautiful house belonged to someone who had an equally high position in society at that time, but didn't retire yet. It was clear that chances for his idea to come true were close to zero. But he wanted that house very much. After a while, it so happened that he managed to earn money, literally by accident, a certain amount. And it turned out that the person who owned the house was fired due to the fact that he was dismissed from his position. He simply had to move and put this house up for sale. And the most interesting thing is that for exactly the same amount of money that my acquaintance had earned. Is this a coincidence? A mere coincidence, some people will say. It's a coincidence. Do you know how many coincidences like that actually happen when we say, I would give everything? Yet, there's another interesting question. What does everything mean? Has anyone thought about it? In fact, when we say, I would give everything just to get something, are we thinking about those material things which we have? No. What we mean is that we would give everything.
Without losing what we have today, yes.
Without losing what we have in material terms.
Exactly.
And that's the entire phenomenon. In other words, we clearly know and understand it when we say such things, but we sort of pay little attention to it. In the end, we often get what we want, that very result, no matter how small or big it is. But if we really desire it, and we are truly willing to give what we call everything, then often we get it. Tell me, is this a deal or not? With whom? If the devil doesn't exist, if in reality there are no such contracts, with Satan. Well, why is consciousness outraged? Because somebody, once, invented that the devil slips you a contract. On parchment or on paper, it doesn't matter, which you have to sign either with your blood,
Yes, right.
never mind, or with ink. But you have to put your signature. It is sort of a legal matter. But I'll put it simply, when did jurisprudence appear, friends? And when did humans start making deals with the devil? Look it up in history. That's the answer.
Igor Mikhailovich, it would seem a person has fulfilled his desire. But why does it not bring him any moral satisfaction? It brings pain, sadness, and this feeling of hell into his life.
Because it's a deal. And the funniest thing is that because it's not his desire, this is really true. Let's take the simple example of my acquaintance who bought this house. He lived there, literally for a week, and invited me and other friends to a housewarming party to brag about the house, the fulfillment of his dream. We felt uncomfortable to refuse the invitation, so we surely arrived. Yes, it was a nice, luxurious house. Everything was beautiful and great. It's just that his eyes were sad, and naturally, I didn't miss the chance to ask him, "So, how is it? Was it worth it?" To which he replied that he didn't get what he wanted. No, the house was wonderful. He was happy with the house, but sadness appeared inside. This is indeed true. Why? Yes, he bought a house. He had dreamed of it. He already had a house. But he wanted exactly this one. He got it. It was in a good location and everything was perfect. But after spending just a couple of nights in it, he realized that it's not his cup of tea, and very quickly, after a short period of time, he sold it. However, he cannot cancel the deal. That's the point.
It's an extremely important understanding that it is not a person's desire.
Of course.
It turns out that this desire is imposed on him by consciousness.
Of course. Look, here's a simple example. A human is personality. Personality doesn't have any material desires. This is really so, friends. Personality has no attachment to anything here. Why? Because personality has an understanding of all this temporality, and personality doesn't perceive three-dimensionality. We, as personalities, perceive three-dimensionality, thanks to our primary consciousness, and that's it. In other words, for us, it is all alien. And which of you hasn't perceived this world as unreal? Who hasn't perceived this world as a delusion, as a dream, as something that hinders you? This happens precisely at the moment when our personality is active. We become more perceptive to this world, and we kind of look at it with open eyes, and we realize that this is some kind of surrealism, that everything is wrong and not the way it should be, that it's not our world. It's like a dream, which we have found ourselves in, and we just want to wake up. Who hasn't experienced such things? Many times in the course of life, almost every normal person gets into such moments of, I would say, peak activity of personality, in awareness of this existence. When, yes, we perceive it through primary consciousness, but we understand that it's not ours. We realize that we, as personalities, should be in a different, perfect world, and not in this world, which is filled with injustice. This is really so. Personality always strives for home. We, as personality, we, the one who is called a human being. So we as personalities, as human beings, we always strive for home. We strive for the higher world, where we are actually supposed to come. But as soon as we, as personality, are dominated by consciousness, we shift from the position of personality to the position of primary or secondary consciousness. When we are sitting in a sandbox, playing with toys, and someone tries to take them away from us, we are like, how come? This is ours. We don't give the toys. This is primary consciousness becoming active. It is the first to understand where there's something yours, how to survive, how to attract someone's attention in order to get more vril, without even realizing that we attract attention to ourselves in order to take someone's power. Vril. We simply understand that we need to attract attention and we use these skills for the rest of our lives. Isn't that so? You see how simple everything is?
There is one more question, Igor Mikhailovich. Some people might say that we see images of successful people who seem to be such positive energizers, the morning magic, they are in a resourceful state, they seem to have such a successful and happy life. Are those people actually devoid of influence of subpersonalities of this background noise? Maybe they have such good karma, or they do not conclude deals with the devil. How to explain that?
They are obliged to show that they are happy.
Yes, exactly.
Because they've been struggling all their life for something they do not need at all. That's why they create such a picture of happy life, lightness, beauty, and freedom. But has anyone looked at the other side of that picture? A simple question. After all, everything is quite different there. And when they start telling the truth, those stars,
Yes, exactly.
who are always happy, it turns out that their life is filled with emptiness and sadness, and nothing brings them joy. However, they tell stories and show, they record, and often post videos on Instagram and everywhere around, how they wake up, how they smile, and stuff like that, right? They do exercises and whatnot, and they live just an awesome and nice life, an example to follow. They actually need to be an example to follow for others in order to draw attention to themselves, so that at the expense of other people's attention, to somehow ease this pain, this eternal hunger of the one who is inside them. The one who took everything they gave him in order to get this picture. After all, what did they want? A picture. In fact,
They force themselves to smile every morning.
just look, friends. I want to make it clear. My acquaintance wanted a house. What did he want? A picture, an image, a person who strives to become happy, rich, and successful. What does he see? A picture. What does he meditate on? What does he think about? Where does he send his life, his vril? Into a picture. Well, a picture in our head is formed as two-dimensional. This is true. And having received this life, you still feel it to be two-dimensional. There is no heart and no foundation in it. And this very emptiness, which cannot be filled with anything, gnaws everyone. As for the fact that later on, they start trying to look happy, well, they have to keep up their appearance somehow, right? In order to draw attention to
They
themselves.
should somehow force themselves to enjoy the day,
Well, of course,
to
sure.
stimulate production of those endorphins.
Well, in fact, it's not so much that they are enjoying the day as they are acting as if they are enjoying it. Look, how many really happy stars are there? Who among them has a happy life? There are such people. I'm not saying there are none, but as a rule, those are the ones who realize their mistakes in time and start correcting them. As a rule, people embark on the spiritual path, and that's when they find the meaning of life. Because they understand that it's impossible to fulfill one's life with those pictures, and that you should live for people. That you should act for people and not people for you. That's when a meaning appears. That's when you really want to smile in the morning. Then
in a natural
life
way,
is truly
right?
joyful. Yes. And when it doesn't matter whether you live in a palace or in a hut, if angels are singing inside you, believe me, it feels wonderful even in a cave. Whereas if you're sick at heart, you feel miserable even in a palace. The main thing is the inner state. If we feel wonderful and well, if we are happy, then we are happy everywhere. This is really so. Whether in a cave or in a palace, everything else is secondary. It's just that stereotypes and standards are imposed on us. Fashion is imposed on us, and everything else is imposed on us. But again, consciousness picks it up, especially the primary one. Why? Because our primary consciousness is, first and foremost, selfish and prideful. And we want to stand out among the rest, so as to be envied and to be paid attention to. But what for, friends? A simple question, and here's the answer. in order to collect more vril. Just that.
To climb up a step in the hierarchical ladder.
Absolutely
This
right.
is a very important understanding, Igor Mikhailovich, a very important one. That basically, very often, people create an illusion in their consciousness, escaping this inner pain, and they create another additional problem for themselves. Besides the fact that they have this tearing pain inside, the pain of subpersonalities, this negative, oppressive background noise. They also escape into this illusion, the illusion of their own consciousness. And it is very inspiring that what really matters is precisely this true joy, which is always with you every morning when you wake up. And there is no need to stimulate anything in addition with external actions of any kind.
With external actions, by trying to repeat something to yourself. When they teach you, when you wake up, you should approach a mirror and smile in it. You should say, I'm happy, I feel good. And even if you feel very, very sad, if you just want to disappear from this world, you should smile and say that you feel good, that everything is splendid in your life.
Yes, you engage in this kind of self-deception.
Of course. Well, who? What can a liar give you except lies? What can the one who is already dead teach you? Can the one who has no life teach you how to live, my friend? A simple question. Hence, there are lies, deception, and substitutions, merely pictures, merely illusions, and illusions are just illusions. They won't feed you, and they will not satisfy your spiritual hunger. After all, a person becomes truly happy only when God's love awakens in him, when the meaning of existence appears in him. And what's the point of existing in this world? In order for someone to envy you, or in order to acquire something. After all, you won't take it with you when you leave, but you will always take God's love with you. That's the point, right?
Igor Mikhailovich, you know, consciousness always pushes a person to extremes, and it says, since desires are so bad, then do not desire anything at all. Lead a completely ascetic way of life.
It's a lie.
Up to the point that...
It's exactly a lie. When a person forbids himself to desire something, he still desires it. When he forces himself to have an ascetic way of life, to eat only a blade of grass or a grasshopper at a time, when he can eat normally and live a simple and happy life, you see, it's a substitution. It's a substitution of the essence of phenomena. I mean, if there is no God's love in you, if you do not strive for it, then no matter what you refuse in this world, you will not become closer to God. As for showing off, yes, you live poorly, in a hut or in a cave. You are dressed in some sackcloth. You eat some grasshoppers. You are sitting near your cave all day long and mumbling some mantras. Yes, you know, you will become like a monkey in a zoo, attractive for tourists.
Vril.
For fans, yes. So they will come, worship you, garner some powers from you, and listen to your wisdom. Just as they come with nothing, so they will leave with nothing, while you will remain as empty as you were. Isn't that so? I'll put it simply, friends. If you can afford buying yourself a nice car, a Rolls Royce, you will be very foolish not to buy it. Why? Because you will be able to drive a nice car and to enjoy it. If you like that kind of a car, of course. After all, there are fans of other cars. If you can afford to buy yourself a nice house in a nice place and enjoy your life, then you will be foolish not to do that. Why? Life is one, and it passes very quickly. If you can help someone, if you can take care of someone, and you don't do that, you'll be a fool. Why? Because by helping others and taking care of others, we truly begin to value our own life. Only then do we understand who we are and why we are in this world. That's the point. Isn't it? Limiting yourself when you have opportunities is ridiculous. It gives nothing, absolutely nothing in a spiritual plane. All this asceticism is just to show off. It is all from the evil one. It is not because a person has risen so high spiritually that he doesn't need anything. No, it's because he wants to exalt himself above others in order to be noticed. Not having opportunities and not having talents, he resorts to what has been used for thousands of years and has always worked with his, let's say, showy love for God and rejection of earthly things. This is ridiculous. Our body is material. The world we exist in is material. Life should be, I'll put it this way, it should be comfortable and convenient. If we can afford it, that's great. If we cannot afford it, well, never mind. The main thing is that if there is God's love inside, it doesn't matter where you are and how you exist. If you are with God's love, you do not exist, you live. While you exist, my friend, only when there is no God's love. And it doesn't matter either, whether in a hut, in a cave, or in a palace, or in a Rolls Royce. You just exist. There is emptiness in you, and there is no life in you. So what's the point of those palaces and Rolls Royces? Just like of those caves and poverty, if there's no God's love, everything is meaningless. That's the point. And going back to what we started with, can a person who concluded a deal with Satan, when he said, I will give everything, if I get something, can he gain life eternal? He certainly can. It's enough for him to realize that he can gain life eternal. It's enough for him to realize that there is God, and that the path to God is through love. It's enough for him to open his heart to God's love, to let it inside himself, and to generate this love himself. If a person really loves God and strives for God, no devil will be able to oppose that. Remember it, friends. Meanwhile, it all begins with a simple thing, with love for each other. So friends, let's just love each other and be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends. Peace be with you and God's love.